What is up, you guys? This is the famous video that you guys have all been waiting for. This is the Facebook cost cap method. Okay, so we broke the algorithm on TikTok. We all know, we all saw the results that our clients were getting utilizing that strategy, and this is where it came from. Basically, there's two formulations of this. There's the bully method, which is famously produced by Tim Bird, and then there is the cost cap method, which is just basically a play on that. So there's some things that I implemented that Tim Bird didn't. All respect to Tim Bird. The bully method was basically a method of bullying your competitors out of the respected ad space so that you can later go back and dominate that sector with CBOs and ABO interests. So cost capping is very effective on Facebook. If you don't know what it is, basically when you are making an advertisement on Facebook, whether it's a CBO or an ABO, that ad gets injected into a auction, and that auction is behind the scenes, and it's basically assume that there's like 1,000 ads within that auction. Okay, so if you're targeting women between the ages of 30 to 40, and there's another 100 people that are targeting women between the ages of 30 and 40, and your bid is higher than their bid, that's what shows your ad first. Okay, so your ad gets shown based on the budget that you have. Basically, the person with the most money at the end of the day, and the person willing to spend the most money, gets the most customers. Okay, so that's just how it is. With cost capping on Facebook, some of the benefits are you are allowed to control the budget in which Facebook will enter those auctions or enter those respective bids. Okay, so on weekends where it's really busy and a lot of people are spending a lot of money on CBOs and maybe their audiences are very broad, if you want to get in and you want to eliminate those competitors, you can use the bully method. So the bully method, if you guys don't know, basically you set the cost cap or the bid cap pretty high within the campaign. So I am on a white hat account right now, so you won't be able to see the actual ability for me to type in here, but this is where you would do it in the cost control section here. Okay, so in the cost control section here, you would basically, there would be options, and for your account this will work. This is a white hat account because I don't want to get into my agency account and show you. I'll get into that later on why it's important for me to keep that private, but in this particular case with cost control, you would be able to basically set a number, and remember it's always digits of 0.33 or 0.77, and that would basically allocate the spend budget towards the auction that you're entering into. So similar with TikTok. With TikTok, when we broke the algorithm there, we were setting the campaign budget really low, so the campaign was set at like $50 or $100, and we were entering in the bids at or the cost caps at like 32.77 or 37.33. And then a lot of people have been saying their ads haven't been spending, and the reason why is because of how competitive the bidding is getting. So what I recommend, if your ads aren't spending, up the campaign budget. So put it instead of $50 to $100, and then basically increase the ad set budget drastically. And remember, I'm doing all this with an agency account, so it might be different with an independent account or a personal account. It still works, and I know it still works. Sometimes it works better even because it's tricking the algo that much better. But I just wanted to make it clear the similarities between the TikTok cost cap and then the Facebook cost cap. With TikTok, they just recently released that they have automated rule sets, which are great, but they run on a 30-minute interval. Facebook runs on I believe a minute interval, so it'll constantly change the update or update the ad with how you see fit within a minute, and that's very important, and I'll show you why in a second here. So basically, the way that I set up a cost cap method on Facebook, and this works fantastic. I run this in combination with the CBO or with an ABO that I'm testing. Typically, I'll do a CBO setup with some interests that have been hitting from the ABO testing campaigns. And then if I did the Terminator to basically determine if I can get a CPA under $5, I will inject that into the CBO and run this aggressively with that. But like I said, this requires less work than TikTok. You don't actually have to physically be there when you're running this because of the automated rule sets that we're going to inject. Okay, so first and foremost, we're creating a lifetime budget campaign first of all. So a lifetime budget, and we are going to set this to $100. And now with the cost cap method, you're still running it per hour. Okay, so you're still looking at sitting there and basically just to keep an eye on it, run it for 1 hour periods throughout the day. So you'd have to duplicate this. If you plan on running cost caps for 8 hours, you have to duplicate this 8 times, okay? So it doesn't necessarily work if you do it for a long period of time. You wanna basically run it as quickly and as efficiently as possible because you're using accelerated bidding, okay? So that's very important. So I'm just gonna set it to $100. I feel fine spending $100 an hour because I know that this product is winning and it's a tested product. Others might not feel that way, but or you have to do the testing independently to determine if your product fits this criteria. This isn't like TikTok where you don't just dive into this with a product that you're testing. This is for a product that is working with ABOs and CBOs. So this isn't a testing method. With TikTok, you can test method the cost cap method, or you can test the cost cap method with tested products, okay? So if you have like a product that you're not sure of and you wanna get a ton of volume for super cheap and you wanna see if it converts with that allocated volume, the cost cap method is great. With Facebook, it's not, okay? So this isn't for testing once again. So don't come in and say, hey, it didn't work, or nothing spending. This is for winning products on Facebook, okay? So if your product is doing well on TikTok, let's say you've been running because I know a lot of the people in this community now, TikTok is so much easier to get involved with than Facebook, but Facebook is still the king at the end of the day. It'll always be the king. I love you, Zucks. But at the end of the day, let's look at TikTok here and let's formulate basically a plan. So if on TikTok your product is doing well and you want to roll it out on a Facebook, the correlation will be there. So it'll do well on Facebook, okay? Look at the data on TikTok and look at the audience insights and just inject that onto Facebook. And then I would suggest jumping right into a cost cap campaign like this if the product is doing well on TikTok, okay? But if you're just testing a product and you don't know if it's a winner or not, just slap it on TikTok, put $50 to $100 on it and test it there. Don't test products on Facebook because it could, fuck your account. And the last thing you want is to ruin a Facebook account in today's economy. Even I have a difficult time keeping accounts active, and it's only getting more difficult. Facebook just released an update that they're going to be publicly posting the feedback score, and I'll get into the feedback score and how you can eliminate that or even work on improving it through gray hat methods. But that's going to drive literally 90% of the beginners out of Facebook advertising, and that's going to drive a huge economy towards TikTok. So Facebook continues to restrict their ability to make money with their advertising platform. And I think it's going to bite them in the butt a little bit, but they're doing it because of how much fraud happens on Facebook, right? So let's dive right in. That was a pretty long rant and a long introduction, but I think it's necessary because the actual way that you set this up is fairly easy. The most intricate task is the automated rule sets, and then it'll be actually physically sitting there and monitoring the campaign. So let's get into it, okay? First and foremost, your cost controls, okay? So your cost control is gonna be a benefactor of the AOV and the average order value, and it's gonna be a benefactor of the average conversion price that you're getting it for. So if you're running this product on Facebook with the CBO or an ABO, and your average cost per acquisition is $15 or $25, that's what you're gonna factor in the cost control here, okay? So you're gonna set it at the average, and then you're gonna try and get it below it. Just like on TikTok, remember, it's not gonna spend the cost cap amount. You're not gonna get purchases for $36.77 or whatever you set the cost cap at. You're gonna get it much, much cheaper, but it's just where you enter the bids, and it's important to do the math. So if you're running and that's why I say you don't test with this. So if you're running the product on TikTok and your average cost per acquisition, let's say, is $15, $15.77 is your cost control, okay? And then you can always go in and add it in the automated rule sets or manually, which I'll show you, okay? So set it, that's the math. So you're looking at the average cost per acquisition and you're setting it there. If you have no cost per acquisition, look at the potential AOV. So if the average order value on this product without an upsell, let's just say you're selling a product for $39.99, your break-even point typically with that is like 50%. So if it's $39.99, you can set the maximum cost control budget here to about $19.77, okay? So you have to play with the numbers and go, okay, where's my break-even point? Is my break-even half? Am I at a 1/3 of a margin? And then you correlate it with the cost cap. Whereas on TikTok, you just set the cost cap for it to trick the algo for you to run traffic. With this, On Facebook, it's actually going to try and enter in the auctions at that bid price. Okay, so it's a little bit different there. So we're scheduling it for today, and then we would basically start it. Today is the 25th, so we would start it at, let's just give an example of 9 p.m., which is a great time to sell. Remember, this is Dawson time. And then we would shut off the ad at 10 p.m. on the same day, so November 25th. Okay, let's see. Yep, so see what they're warning you here, that it'll run fewer than 24 hours. That's completely fine. Ad spend limits. So you can set this ad set spend limit to basically not blow the budget. So this is kind of the trick here with on TikTok, how you can set the campaign budget low and then set the interest level high, and it'll assume that you're going to be able to spend 5,000. This is the way that you can do this too. So you can set the ad set limit to your max. Let's say it's $100 or $50 or whatever, and then you can go into the actual campaign side of things up here, and you can set this budget to like 5,000, right? But this is going to be dependent on your Facebook spend cap. So this is why I always recommend using agency accounts. So I can set this to 5,000, and then I can go in here into the individual ad set, and I can throttle it and basically set it to an amount that I feel fit. Okay, so the lifetime minimum, I can say the minimum that I want to test to ensure that the cost cap method might work is $100, and then the maximum that I'm willing to throw at this, just in case I make a mistake and it blows through the budget and my CPAs are super trash, is $200. Okay, but that's for my preference. You guys can do it based on your individual thresholds. So see what it says: applying multiple spend limits may affect the performance. This is what they're saying right now because they don't know that we're going to do automated rule sets, and they don't know that we're cost capping. Okay, so don't listen to that. Basically, you want to keep it super broad, the same way that you're going to be doing it with TikTok. You want to keep it as broad as possible because the traffic is going to be super cheap. The best placements right now to get traffic, I'll show you, depending on your audience, obviously. But the Instagram feed, not the right column, the Instagram Explore, that's the best. Groups, no. Instagram stories, Facebook stories, no. Instagram Reels are by far the best performing for me right now. Sometimes I launch campaigns just in the Reels. That's how well they're doing. Because Instagram Reels, you have to remember, it's like TikTok, right? So it depends, once again, like I said, on the demographic. If you're targeting younger individuals, like I'd say anywhere between 18 to 35, the Reels are going to pop off. If you're targeting anywhere above 35, Facebook newsfeed is still going to hit. In Australia, a lot of the younger demographics still use Facebook as their primary form of social media, based on what I've been told. So, if you're advertising within Australia, the news feed is going to correlate with a younger demographic as well. But as we know in North America, in Canada specifically, I'll talk for Canada, Facebook, it's very rare at my age group. So I'm 26 now. It's very rare for the people that I went to high school with and stuff like that to regularly post on Facebook, because they have Instagram now, and Instagram is the new king. But back in the day, Facebook was super popular. But my mom, my dad, my aunts, my uncles, people within that demographic, they were born in the 60s, so they're in their 60s now. They love Facebook. So remember, if you're looking at an older demographic, you want to target the feed. And if you want to target a younger demographic, you want to target Instagram with Reels or with Stories. Okay, so keep that in mind. Now with the ad set, it doesn't really matter. This is all dependent on your personal product here that you're running. That's the initial setup though. Okay, so this is cost cap. As long as you have that bid, that cost cap thing in there, that's completely fine. You can duplicate this a bunch of times, and you can potentially add in a couple of interests if they're working. So if you have really strong ABOs, you just press up here, duplicate, and then you can duplicate it the amount of times that you want it to be copied. And then if you set the name template here properly, which I've explained to do in another video, but I'll show you here why not. If you edit that template there, it will go ahead and it'll say interest, country, age, and gender, and you can just propagate that up there so that when you duplicate this 10 times and you go in and you basically allocate different interests, you're not confused. One thing that I always recommend people do, and I say this all the time in every video, is you name your campaigns. If you're not naming your campaigns, you don't know which ones to turn off, and you're not building that mechanism. They say all the time with people that play the piano, practicing wrong is only going to lead to more damage down the line. So you actually have to get into the rhythm of practicing the exact movements, even if it's uncomfortable. It's like when we took typing class in school. Who types like that? But it is the most proficient and fastest way to type. If you look at the people that are in law that have to type in court, they type with that ASDF QWERTY finger positioning. 99% of us don't type like that, but we did it because we weren't taught it from the beginning. We had to figure it out on our own. So if I can teach you how to do this properly from the beginning and you practice it properly, then you won't have to worry about learning it the wrong way and having this big sloppy advertising campaign that you don't know which one is converting or which one isn't converting. So set it up, be rigorous. Even if you're not a clean person, your room's a mess, blah, 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 at least have your ad account clean, okay? And then it'll clean up your bank account too, trust me. Anyways, let's get into the nitty gritty here. The nitty gritty of this portion is the automated rule sets. Okay, so when you're creating rule sets for cost capping campaigns, it's pretty cool how you can do it. TikTok, I wish they did it, but basically what you're gonna set it to is increase bid if, okay? And right now we're just doing it to one ad set. You would do it to the campaign, okay? So all active ad sets. And then the action is to increase the bid, okay? So you're gonna increase the bid by 20%. Okay, so you're gonna increase the bid by 20%. And basically what you're telling Facebook right now is the rule name is just increase bid if. That's for you. Okay, apply rule to all active ad sets within this campaign. Increase bid by 20%. The maximum manual bid cap. Okay, so keep this in mind. This is the maximum that you're willing to spend for a cost per acquisition. So take it as just your product price. So if your product price, let's say, your product price to the customer, not your product price. Keep that in mind. So if your product price to the customer is $49.99, you're gonna set this to $49.77, which will basically prevent you from having to go in and increase that manually. Okay, this is gonna increase the bid by 20%, and you can set it so that it doesn't even have to fire on CPAs. So you don't have to actually be getting purchases for this rule set to fire. You can set it on impressions. So basically what that says is if the impressions exceed a certain threshold, you need to increase the bids, even if there aren't purchases, because that means you're getting super cheap traffic, right? So if you set the initial cost cap campaign to, let's say, $15 to enter the bid, and you manage to get 9,000 impressions for $15, that's outperforming 100% of the time the CBO and ABO campaigns. So you should increase that bid even if you haven't gotten a sale yet, because there's more people viewing your ads, which has the potential, obviously, to improve conversion rate. So for now, let's do the basic rule set, which is the cost per result is smaller than, and then this is why we set it to half of the break-even price, okay? So if the cost per result is less than $19.99, or you can set so there's two things. If you want to set it to the product price, I'll give you the benefits of both. If you're setting it to the product price, the bid is it has to overspend, meaning if you set it to $15.77 or $16.77 or $17.77 and you're telling it to increase when it hits $19.99, it won't work, okay? So you have to set this to the actual amount that you set in as the cost cap. But I'll get into how you can set it later with the product price. This is the first rule set though. So cost per result is smaller than $15.77, which is the bid. So if it's getting cost per acquisitions less than that initial cost cap that you'd enter, continuously you want it to run, then you're going to increase the bid by 20%. Okay, so that's basically saying if the cost per result is under 1577 with all the campaigns that are set up, we want to increase every campaign by 20%. Okay, so you're increasing all the bids by 20%, which will bump your auction ability. So you're going to be spending more money and moving competitors down that threshold of potentially bidding in to those auctions, because especially if they're running CBOs or ABOs, it's automated. So Facebook has that automated bidding structure where here you're manually doing it. So you're forcing Facebook to you're taking them by the reins and you're saying, look, if you can get cost per acquisitions under 15, bump that budget up 20%. Sometimes I even do this 50%, you know, and why even waste the time? I'll bump this to 50% and basically increase the bid by half every single time. So as it continues to give me results, you know, with the maximum annual bid cap, of course, that's my highest I'm willing to spend. As it continues to give me results under 15 bucks, it's going to keep doubling that bid. And what do you think that does for the algorithm? When it doubles the bid, it thinks that it has that amount to spend. Your maximum annual bid cap is $49. So if you have like $1,000 that's going towards this cost cap campaign within that hour, and you get cost per acquisitions under 1577, it's going to bump up that bid to 50 bucks. And now you're going to be winning every auction on the news feed, because somebody with just $1,000 CBO that's running it all day, remember, the algorithm thinks if you have $1,000 to spend all day, it's 1,000 divided by 24. You're telling them, hey, I have 1,000 to spend, or $100 to spend even. Do the math. 1,000 divided by 24 isn't the same as 100 divided by 60. You're going to be able, or 100 divided by 1 rather, I did it by minutes. You're going to be able to spend more money within that hour than that person that's spending $1,000 a day in a CBO, even if you're only spending 100 bucks. And what does that mean? That's going to mean that your auctions are going to be higher than theirs. Okay, so even as a beginner, even as somebody who only has a couple $100 to throw at a product, with this knowledge, you are leaps and bounds ahead of that person that's just running that CBO campaign at $1,000. And that's why Tim Bird called it the bully method. You're literally bullying your competitors out of those respective time frames, and you're winning every auction. Because at the end of the day, it's kind of like you're at one of those auctions, you know, the classic things where the guys talk super fast and you have to put your hand up and you have to bid. You want your hand up bidding for every potential customer that fits your target demographic, okay? And your competitor is going to go, holy shit, look at the money on this guy. Meanwhile, you're just spending all your money within that hour and you're reaping all the rewards because you've done the psychological analysis and determined that those respective hours are the best to sell within. Okay, so when this dummy over here is spending $1,000 within 24 hours, you know, and he's wondering why his cost per acquisition is going up and he can't figure out how to run Facebook ads, it's because he's not taking the necessary steps to make the differences and only run ads within the respective times that are working. Do the social proofing with SMM panel so that your ad appears way bigger than it is. Do the custom conversion event so that you don't have the feedback score hitting your customers. Use feed protector so that you're bumping your feedback score so that you get cheaper CPMs. Make a carousel ad, a video ad, and a picture ad so that you're able to target all three individuals or respective clients, or potential clients. And that's going to make the difference. Okay, these are the tricks. This is how I was able to make millions of dollars with Facebook ads and why companies paid me to run Facebook ads for them. It's because of this mastery, and it's because of the mentorship that I had with Tim Bird very early on, and me just learning through spending. I literally had, when I was at my peak, I was spending $250,000 a day for Thunder Labs for a company, right? So, you know, with that budget, you have to learn tricks and gimmicks because you can't just spend $250,000 in a CBO. It's not going to work. This is the first rule set. Sorry for the rant, but let's just create that. That's basically the bread and butter here, though. Okay, so that is the cost cap campaign. What I'm going to show you now is just extra. It's just little rule sets that you can add in. That's basically just to protect your ass if something goes wrong. So turn off ad set if the cost per result is greater than the actual cost of the product. And that's what I wanted to say before. Okay, so if your cost of the product, let's say, is, I don't know, 30 bucks, you don't want to spend more than $30 because it's going to be unprofitable. Okay, so it's just if the cost per result is greater than $30, turn off the ad set, and you're going to do it to the one all active ad sets. Okay, so it's all active ad sets right there, and then it's running continuously. Who cares about the email or whatever, but it's just an example. So this is basically your threshold here. It's your safety net. And this is really important to have, because if you don't have this, and you're getting cost per results above that, that's not going to be a profitable campaign, and then you're going to hate me for this setup. So always have an if this, then that, and this is that if this, then that. It's going to turn off the campaign if the cost per result is above 30. Now, what I wanted to talk about a little bit is more for the advanced individuals, and this is for the guys who don't necessarily care about conversion value. Let's say you're running lead gen, okay, and you want to run cost cap methods. You can go off impressions, because impressions is in fact a metaphor for success, okay? So if you're getting a bunch of impressions for super cheap, those are eyes that are on that particular ad, which when you're running like lead gen or conversions and not just engagement ads, because engagement ads are terrible. I don't recommend anybody run engagement ads unless you're trying to do social proofing with organic likes and organic comments. And then at that point, I always recommend using 3% of the daily budget running with an engagement campaign. So let's say you're spending $100 a day, spend $3 out of that 100 on an engagement campaign towards that ad ID, okay? And that'll improve your conversions because it'll have natural likes and natural comments, which Facebook loves. Facebook doesn't necessarily love bot likes and bot comments. They do work, but organic will always work better because it'll convert into lookalike audiences for the auctions that they can give to prospective new clients, okay? Or new individuals that might see the ad. With this particular case though, we're gonna create a new rule based on impressions. So we are going to increase the bid by 20%. So here we go. It took me a second to find that, and I was getting messages from one of my account farmers. Basically what this is telling it, it's going to increase the bid on the cost cap if the impressions are above 8,000, okay? And that's good because your cost cap is set to 1577. In the first campaign, it's only going to get better if you're able to get 8,000 impressions for $15. That's fantastic with Facebook, especially if you're doing lead gen for like high ticket, like real estate leads or legal leads. This is fantastic, and cost cap works great for that. So increase the bid by 20% if the impressions exceed 8,000. Keep in mind, okay, this still formulates, once you add a rule set, it kind of adds it to everything. So, you have to manually go in and remove rules or pause rules or add rules, because it's going to be running 24/7, and you can do that here by manage rules, okay? So you can see all of the active rules that we have done here towards the campaign, and that's why it's important. Like if you ever wanted to just make a rule for one campaign, you would go here, you would click this, and then you would apply the rule to, or you can apply an existing rule, which is great too. Turn off 5, which is what I had if the ads aren't performing above, or they're not getting conversions under $5. You would create a new rule and you would just apply it to this particular campaign. Okay, see how it says one campaign? So you can still have your CBO product testing method, your ABO product testing method, your LTB product tester with cheaper results, because lifetime budgets get cheaper results, and then you can do your cold interest terminator, all with their own individual rule sets. So rule sets are super important, and that's basically what this video is all about. The cost cap method is fantastic. The bully method is great, but at the end of the day, this is more so a video about rules and how you can automate rule sets to your benefit, okay? So with TikTok, if they do this where it implements in a minute, I probably will be able to retire off of that, because Facebook is so fantastic with this. The automated rule sets are just great, and I highly recommend that you guys inject this method into your scaling strategies, okay? But like I said, this isn't for a testing product. This is for a product that's already doing well. So keep in mind, you want to have your CBOs and your ABOs converting, and then inject it into this. If you wanted to test it on Facebook right away and the product is already doing well on TikTok, well, that's your sign that it's going to probably do well on Facebook too, as long as you keep the interest the same. Okay, so this was a long video. I hope you managed to sit through. I know it's a lot of information. It's very hard to focus, but I'm trying to train you to be, monk modes and little Jedis, okay? It's very important for you guys to get into the practice of basically being able to do this regularly without the stress and without the pressure of, oh, I have to pay attention. Oh, this is difficult. Oh, it's difficult to follow because it's so long. Sit there, go through it, rewatch it, get it done. I promise you these are life-changing results. It's what made me a millionaire. I promise you it'll help you make you one too if you formulate it properly, okay? Once again, Franky Shaw, Facebook cost cap method. Enjoy, guys. Take care.